Hey, radio listeners, it's good to have you guys tuning in with us today. We want to say welcome home and thank you for spending a little time with us. TV viewers, thank you also for spending some time with us. Facebook Live, YouTube, anybody linking up. We are Christ Point Church. We're one church. We're in 2 locations, and we're in several media outlets, and we want to just tell you welcome home. It's good to have you with us today because of her. Now, we're starting out our Christmas season with a journey that we're going to go on for 4 weeks in a study about a little bit of an in-depth look at who these women are that impacted the life of Jesus. Because of her, the world, let me just tell you, we'll start this out. The world's a much smaller place than it used to be. Now, we're going to get into the word, into the sermon in just a minute, but the world's not as big as it used to be. I'll give you an example. The average person in the days of Jesus never really traveled more than 30 miles from home. The average person in the days of Jesus never traveled more than 30 miles from their home. Now, I'm going to tell you something. My dad's parents, my grandparents on my father's side, I don't think they ever traveled 10 miles in my lifetime from their home. Neither one of them drove, and town was only 5 miles away, so it was only a 10-mile loop to come back home. I never remember my grandmother or my grandfather ever going anywhere. So the world is a smaller place. It's kind of got sped up just a little bit. Technology has managed to shrink down our world. So let me kind of tell you what I'm talking about. Let me show you. Grab your phone if you brought it this morning and put it on silence. That'd be great. Unlike my wife, who thing goes off and tells her, time to go to the bathroom. If you're around her, it just goes off all the time. So grab your cell phone. Get on your GPS app. It may be Waze, it may be MapQuest, whatever you got. Waze it, whatever you can do. Get on there and type in this address, 614 Murphy Street. Type in 614 Murphy Street, Smithville, Tennessee. That's the location of the Christ Point Church Smithville location. You'll need that this evening at 6 o'clock to get there on time. So type that in. Leave that in there. 614 Murphy Street, Smithville, Tennessee. By the way, Pure Worship will be happening and starting. We're expecting it to be very, very full, and we want everybody to have a space. I don't care if we even have to stand around. It's cool. My GPS says 33 minutes. We looked at another one that said 29 minutes. Well, let's just go with mine because I have the microphone. 33 minutes. It also says 21.4 miles. 33 minutes to get from this location to that location. 33 minutes. GPS is one of those technology benefits that has sped our world up and also shrunk our world down. Let me give you an example of that. You can take off and you can travel 500 or 600, 800, even 1,000 miles in a day. You can knock that out in a day. I've done some of those on a motorcycle. And I know Murph has just clicked one of his bikes over 1 million miles. So I know he's done it. So you don't get 1 million miles by going 5 miles a day. So I've done some of these figures on a motorcycle. So technology has enabled us to travel distances and shrunk our world down. In the days of Jesus, to travel 500 miles, you had to take a journey like Paul did. People just didn't do that. So you know what? You've got that address popped in. You pop that in, and if you had your sound on, a nice lady would speak in a sweet voice to you. She would say something like, your destination is 33 miles away. 21.4 miles. Turn left on Bachman Way. See, here's what, and she's faithful. She'll get you to your destination 78% of the time. 78% of the time, she'll get you in the ballpark. Yeah, we're going to St. Louis. She gets you there, and she says, okay, you got to find the rest of it. So 78% of the time, but what she'll do is, you ever notice you click, because we travel a lot, you'll click in an address, and she'll say, turn left. And you're like, I'm in a parking lot. Left what? Left into the parking lot, left out of the parking lot, left into the next lane? I don't know what. Please make a U-turn. I love the way she says, you need to make a U-turn. She says a U-turn. I love that. I'll make U-turns just to get her to say U-turn. So she speaks so softly. But see, for years I refused. I'm like, I'm not buying a GPS. I'm not getting one. And Tina's like, you just don't want to get one because you don't want to ask for directions. I'm like, no, I don't want to get a GPS because I just don't want to buy one. No, you don't want to get one because you're prideful and you don't want to ask for directions. You're a man. Finally, I broke down and told her why I didn't want to get one. I didn't want to get one because I didn't need two women in the car telling me how to drive. That's why I didn't get one. Finally, I broke down and now, you know what happens? Miss Siri talks to us so softly, and Tina fusses at her because she don't get it right. So not only do I have two women in the car arguing, they're arguing with each other. So Tina gets mad at her because she never gets it right, but she gets us in the vicinity. So that's what, but see, let's set our GPSs this morning. I want to go on a journey, and I want you to go with me in the month of December. Let's set our GPS. This morning, let's embark on a journey together. The address is Bethlehem of Judea. We're going to put that in. It's Bethlehem of Judea, and our estimated time of arrival is 2,000 years ago. We're going to set our GPS for Bethlehem of Judea for 2,000 years ago. So, you see, it's all because of her. It's all because of her. That's the title sermon in this series. It's all because of her. And let me just give a plug this morning. I will not be preaching for you next week. There is a special speaker by the name of Tina Qualls that will be speaking for you next week. Yes. Tina will be speaking. She will be doing both services. And she will be, because you know what? I sat down with her and I said, honey, I don't need to preach a sermon about what women stuff. You need to do this because we need to empower women. You know what? You're good at this. So pray for her because she really works hard at sermons when she puts them together. So she works all week long. So I won't see her this week. Actually, she'll be preaching the next week too. So you've got her 2 weeks in a row. So Tina's going to come in here. She's going to preach to us. It's going to be great. And look, let's just get back to our GPS. Enough about Tina, okay? Our journey's going to take us. We're going to go the long route. We're going to go the long distance route. Let me jump back to the motorcycle riding again. Nobody jumps on a bike and says, I want to get from point A to point B. We don't want to go the 1 hour it takes to go from point A to point B. We want to take the scenic route and go 6 hours from point A to point B. And we just want to keep going. See, that's the whole point about riding. It's the journey. So let's go the scenic route this morning. And let's go the long distance route. See, so for the month of December, we're going to look at some ladies. We're going to get into the Bible and we're going to look at some ladies that either shaped the life of Jesus, impacted him greatly, ministered to him and with him, and or made it possible for him to even be who he is. So we're going to look at some of the women. It's because of her. See, the Bible seems to throw out a lot of man names. The Bible seems to put a lot of man names, and there's a reason for that. We're going to get to it in a minute. But we need to look at her. Because I'm going to tell you, it's all because of her. Our first stop this morning, we're going to take a stop at an oak grove. We're going to stop at a grove of oak trees, not far from a place called Hebron. It's in a tent in the desert outside of Sodom. We're going to pass through Genesis, the book of Genesis. So let's pull up Genesis chapter 18. Let's look at verses 1 and 2. And the Lord appeared to him. Now, him being Abraham. See, you notice that, the word always, the Old Testament writing, there's a lot of hymns, and there's a lot of man names. And the Lord appeared to him, and his name is Abraham. And the Lord appeared to him at the oaks of Mamre, as he sat at the door of his tent in the heat of the day. So it's pretty hot, he's cooling. He's kind of over there by the oaks. He lifted up his eyes, and he looked, and behold, there was 3 men. And they were standing in front of him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them, and he bowed down himself to the earth. Now let's jump ahead to verses 9 through 14. So Abraham is sitting at his tent. He's chilling. So let's just kind of take ourselves into this scenario. I'm sitting on the back porch. I'm drinking tea, and all of a sudden there's 3 guys come walking up to him, and one of them is the Lord. So they said to him, this is what they said. Where's Sarah, your wife? Thought this was about me, guys. Where's your wife, Sarah? And he said, she's in the tent. The Lord said, I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah your wife shall have a son. And Sarah was listening at the door behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah, they were old, advanced in years. The way of women had ceased to be with Sarah. She was way past menopause. Let's just call it like it is. So Sarah was an older woman. So Sarah laughed to herself, saying, after I'm all worn out, and my Lord, my husband is all worn out, shall I have pleasure? I ain't seeing this. So the Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say that? Why did Sarah say that indeed I shall indeed bear a child now that I'm old? Why did she say that? Is anything too hard for the Lord? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At this point, at the appointed time, I love it, he reiterates it. At the appointed time, I will return to you about this time next year, and Sarah shall have a son. Now let's look at this. Notice that he meets him by the oaks of Mamre. He meets him there. So this is kind of a place he can see it. So it's within seeing distance. It's pretty much a location where he's got a tent. And Mamre means strong. It's a masculine name that means firmness, means strength. Some versions I looked at even said it was considered the word to be manliness. So here's my thought. He meets him at a place of masculinity, but he asks him about his wife. Now, if you go to a meeting of men, you're going to, if you're in the realms of the world I live in, I have a strong wife. I have a very powerful in the Lord wife. And people say, hey, how you doing? How's Tina? Because, everybody, no, it's all about Tina. So, I'm not good, but I'm fine with it. I love it. But he asked about Sarah in this place of masculinity. How's your wife? What's going on with your wife? He addresses Sarah. He says to Sarah, I want to make sure that you know that I'm talking about you and your wife. So notice in verse 10, he says, I'm going to return about this time next year. And your wife, Sarah, she's going to have a son. Now notice, he didn't say Abraham will have a child. He didn't say I'm going to return this time next year, and Abraham, you will have a child. So Abraham's already done this once and messed it up. He didn't tell him you're going to have a child. He didn't say, Abraham, it's your job. He said, I'm going to return this time next year, and Sarah will have a child. See, it's not impossible for a man to reproduce at any age. Abraham was 100 years old. You know why I know this? Because I Googled it, and the internet don't lie. So I Googled every bit of it, and I found out that a man can reproduce at any age. But, however, a 90-year-old woman, Abraham was 100, Sarah was 90. A 90-year-old woman is about 40-ish years past menopause. So let me just tell you how it is. She ain't having babies. This woman's not having babies. And God says in verse 10, this is how he kind of lays it out. In order to get to Jesus, in order to get to a miraculous conception, in order to get to salvation for all mankind, in order to arrive at Bethlehem on Christmas morning, and see and hold and possess and hold in our arms the promised Messiah, we're going to have to start with the right woman. We can't start with the wrong woman. We've got to start with the right woman. We've got to start with another miraculous conception. In order to get to the impossible, in order to arrive safely at the impossible, we're going to have to start with the impossible. So let me just kind of show you what that means. Sometimes it ain't, well, let's just pick, not sometimes, but it's never going to make sense on paper. If we're going to arrive at the impossible, we've got to start with the impossible. How impossible is it for a 90-year-old woman to become pregnant? Pretty impossible. Yeah, I like that one. Why is it so important? See, here's what I wanted to key in on. Why is it so important to choose this woman? Why Sarah? Why her? Jason? No, I'm just throwing that out there. But why Sarah? Why choose Sarah? Why, I can aggravate our Sarah because I love her. But why Sarah? Why did it have to be this one? Why did it have to be this one? Why not somebody else? There were plenty of good people in the land, I'm sure. Why that woman? Why not make it easier? Why not someone else? Because God didn't choose someone else, that's why. God didn't choose someone else. See, God doesn't choose randomly. He just has to go about and say, you know what? I got a field full of people here. That one looks good. He don't do that. He doesn't draw names out of a hat. You know, and you're like, okay, our winner is, it's almost Sarah because Sarah's tab fell off back in there. No. He doesn't call, you know that old saying we've heard forever, he doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. This is a good example. He did this with Sarah. Sarah had broken parts. I want you to get this with me. She had broken parts. How many of us today have broken parts? How many of us have broken parts right now? God births the impossible through broken parts. He uses the broken parts. Your salvation and my salvation and the salvation of all mankind began through an old woman, 90 years old, hiding in a tent. That's how salvation got its start. Broken parts will remain broken parts when we hide them from the Lord. Let me say that. Make sure we always get a hold of that. The only one that can change broken parts and make a whole out of brokenness is the Lord. And broken parts will remain broken parts as long as we keep hiding them from the Lord. It's not like He doesn't know anyway. We're just hiding them and not bringing them out, not bringing them to Him. In verse 14, the Lord says Himself, is anything too hard for the Lord? Now, notice what He said. I'm coming back this time next year. I better see a baby. He didn't say that. See, that puts pressure on the person. You know, it's like when you leave the job site. I'm coming back here in an hour, and I better see some drywall or I better see some 2x4s cut. I better see some foundation laid. I better see some shingles on the roof. I'm coming back here. In other words, you have to do something. That's not how it went. I'm coming back here this time next year. I hope to see a baby. Nope. See, the Lord didn't say that. I don't hope for anything. So in other words, hoping and I better see puts all the pressure on Sarah and Abraham. The impossible is not made possible by the pressures we place on ourselves. Let me say that one so we really get it. The impossible is not made possible by our own endeavors, by what we do. The Lord is the miracle maker. It's our job to envision it. It's our job to believe for it. It's our job to expect it. It's our job to trust in the Lord for it. God said, I'm coming back next year, and Sarah going to have a baby. I'm telling you, I'm coming back about this time next year. In other words, it may be a day or two early. It may be a day or two later than this particular time. I'm coming back about this time next year. That gives you and your wife time to conceive, her to carry a child for 9 months, and her to be holding that baby in her arms when I walk back in here again. Has nothing to do with you. Nothing impossible was placed in the hands of Abraham and Sarah. They had no impossible demands placed upon them. They didn't have to do anything. They didn't have to, you have to drink so much water. If you have couples today and they're not able to reproduce children, they're telling you to take this, do this, do this. He didn't say any of that. Spend this kind of money. He said, I'm coming back, and all you have to do is bring broken parts. Bring your broken parts. That's all you have to do. Nothing is impossible when it's placed in the hands of the Lord. Just bring your broken parts. Let's move on our GPS journey. Let's move on because, see, when you're on a journey and you're going a long distance, you have to stop for fuel. So we have to make a couple of stops along the way. You have to stop for fuel. You may have to stop. You may want to stop and see the largest ball of mud. It's just whatever you want to look at. But in my case, when you're traveling with my wife, you have to stop and go to the bathroom every truck stop and every exit. So, you just don't get anywhere real fast with Tina. So, but I wouldn't want to go with anybody else. So the GPS, let's stop on our next stop. We're scheduled for the city of Jericho. We're going to make a stop at Jericho. We're going to look at maybe stop into a tavern. That's where our GPS has got it stopping. A local watering hole. Some would say it's the dwelling place of a prostitute. So let's stop in. Let's look at Joshua chapter 2, verses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Let's look at Joshua chapter 2, my favorite book in the Bible, right here. And Joshua, the son of Nun, sent 2 men secretly from Shittim as spies. Now, I could preach 900 days about this. Saying, go view the land, especially Jericho. And when they went and came into the house of a prostitute whose name was Rahab, they lodged there. And it was told to the king of Jericho, behold, there's some men of Israel who have come in here tonight to search out the land. Then the king of Jericho said to Rahab, here's this woman, saying, bring out the men who have come to you, who entered your house, for they have come to search out the land. Bring out those guys. But the woman had taken the 2 men and hidden them, and she said, true, this is true. The men did come here, but I didn't know where they came from. And when the gate was about to close at dark, they left. She lied. They left. I don't know where they went. Pursue them quickly so you can overtake them. Go, go, go. But she had brought them up to her rooftop and hid them with some stalks of flax that she had laid in order on the roof. So, let's stop in at this happening of what's going on. Rahab, she's a prostitute. The word says it. She's a prostitute. She is a product of the pagan environment. Don't make her right. It would make her look down upon in this society, but in that society, it was part of her ritual for being who she was. What does she have to do with Jesus? You can say, what's she have to do with Jesus? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's look at Matthew chapter 1, verse 5. What in the world does Rahab have to do with Jesus? When you start out reading the Matthew, it starts giving you the genealogy of Jesus. This one and this one and this one, father of this one and all this. And Salmon, the father of Boaz, and his mama's name was Rahab. Now, wow, right here in the lineage, the genealogy of Jesus, Rahab gets mentioned. She gets an honorable mention. Rahab is in the genealogy of Jesus. She is actually David's great-great-grandmother, King David's great-great-grandmother. And because of Rahab, we have David. Because of Rahab, we have Jesus. See, Rahab is the first recorded convert in the Bible. Think about that. She's the first recorded convert in the Bible, and also the first recorded case of OCD. See, you have to live my life in order to understand what I saw this. I told you this about a year or two ago. I saw this. It jumped out at me. In verse 6, she had hid the spies under stalks of flax that she had laid in order. She laid in order. So she was an organized woman. When they came, if they'd have saw the stalks of flax laid around, something ain't right here. She had a reputation, in my opinion, of being an organized woman. I'm calling it OCD. The stalks had to be laid just right. They're not right. You need to lay them back again. So that's the way they had to be put just perfectly. See, I live with a lady like that. I like it. Nothing's ever out of place. I'll give you that. Nothing's ever out of place. And if you ever say, where is A, B, and C? I'm missing D. I find D right here. D. I got you. Very organized, very, very put together, very, very OCD. I like it. It's taught me a whole lot. I wasn't that way in the beginning. I'm a little bit halfway there now. So halfway's good enough. I mean, I'm doing the best I can here. Throw me a bone. But Rahab didn't know God. She didn't know God. She knew who God was. But this is the thing. The entire city, including Rahab, knew about God. Man, they were melting in fear. She hid Joshua's spies. She lowered them down safely by using a scarlet cord. We'll call it a red rope. We'll call it a red-colored rope. She made a deal to save her entire family. She says, all I'm asking is you to return this kindness. Don't forget your servant when you come back. And the spies told her that when we attack the city, we don't know whose windows what. See, they lived in the city walls. The city walls of Jericho, some say, were 30 feet deep. That house is built in the middle of them. And they said, when we come back, we don't know whose windows what. You make sure you drop out this same scarlet cord so we can identify you. They dropped that same scarlet cord out to identify themselves. The scarlet cord today represents obedience. It represents revelation. The scarlet cord represents freedom. It represents salvation. The same scarlet cord that the spies used to escape was the same scarlet cord Rahab used to free her family. Same one they shimmied down. The scarlet cord isn't selective. Let me just tell you how this goes. The scarlet cord isn't selective. It doesn't pick and choose who's able to go down. Everybody that was under the protection of Rahab's roof was saved. Everybody. It's not selective. The scarlet cord of God's grace is not selective today. Whoever grabs a hold of it, whoever ascends and descends on it, whoever gets a hold of it, that person is just like the other person. All who embrace it, all who believe it, and all who repent shall be saved. See, the spies went back, reported to Joshua. The whole city melts in fear. Fear creates chaos. Fear creates a chaotic spirit. Rahab fearlessly laid a foundation of faith. While the rest of the city was melting in fear, her faith and obedience saved her family, earned her an honorable mention in the Hebrews chapter 11 Hall of Heroes, and got her placed in the genealogy of Jesus. Because of her, faith was established, a family was saved, and genealogy continues. Let's just keep on going on our GPS journey. Let's stop again. Let's take our next stop at an argument, just a little disagreement outside of Moab. Then from there, we're going to pass on through the land of Moab toward Judah. We're on our way to Bethlehem. Hey guys, you were doing this, and you stopped on us, and you watched us, and I appreciate it. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for spending some time with us. I pray that you enjoyed the service today. Let me take this opportunity to invite you out personally. We're located on the square in Sparta. Our service times are at 9 and 11 every Sunday morning. We'll meet you at the door with a hug. We'll meet you at the door with some coffee ready and some donuts if you want. And let me just take a real quick minute to invite you over to our Smithville campus. For those of you who can't drive over to Sparta, drive over to Smithville, 11 o'clock for now, at 614 Murphy Street in Smithville, Tennessee. So one of our campuses, Christ Point Church, we're real people, we're living real lives, and we're serving a real God. Welcome home.